Good morning and welcome to the NextGen Planners Big Breakfast.
I'm Joe Oakes and Clem Chatelin.
And I'm Chanelle Pattinson, and over the next 4 Fridays, we're going to be bringing you a fresh perspective on careers in personal finance and financial planning.
That's right. We've got guests coming to discuss everything from landing your dream job to finding new clients and so much more.
Throughout the show, we want to hear from you. So please ping us a message in the chat. And in particular today, we want to hear your views on our big breakfast topic. So that's climate crisis. So please get sharing.
Now, coming up on today's show, we have 3 awesome guests for you. We've got Sam Oakes from the Financial Life podcast, Clem Chatelin from Paradigm Norton, and Benjamin Beck from the Financial Advisor Mentorship Group.
So let's get straight into the show with our first guest, Benjamin Beck from the Financial Advisor Mentorship Group. Morning, Ben.
Good morning. How are you both?
Doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Excited to be here.
Fantastic.
Good. We're excited to have you here. So, Ben, you are what often is referred to as a second careerist. So, having switched from the army to financial planning, what did you see in financial planning that attracted you to it as a career?
Well, first of all, had always had a fascination with the stock market, and that's quite a big part of financial planning. I also like working with people and making a difference to people's lives, and obviously all those 3 elements play a part in being a financial planner. So I found it to be quite a good fit.
Fantastic. And Ben, I'm quite interested to hear about your experience in the army. Specifically, obviously you would have learned a lot of different skills and behaviors being in the army. I'm wondering if any of those sort of helped you as a financial planner.
Absolutely. So there's quite a few things to talk about there, but I think self-motivation, in terms of to get through to the career of becoming a financial planner, there's quite a few exams, and you need to be motivated to get through it all, because you don't always feel motivated to do some studies, and that's where the army discipline comes in. I find I kind of utilize because in training there's a lot of things you have to do, don't necessarily want to do, and you can kind of say that to do with studying, or if this is a particular topic is difficult to get through. So discipline has been a massive part of whatever transferable. But also in terms of my career in general, the army is full of processes. There's a process to do with everything. And I found that financial planning is much the same, whether it's, the compliance part or, getting ready for a meeting or collating meeting notes. There's always a process behind it. And I've found that being regimented from the army, I was able to apply that quite well to the job I'm doing now. And I think also the people skills part of it. So in the army, there's all people from all backgrounds. You get to work with, and so you get a real sense of getting to know people quickly in the army. And I guess with financial planning, seeing a client, you kind of, although the emphasis is on the client, but you're kind of getting to know them just like you would try to get to know a person you're working with in the army, albeit on a more financial level, I guess. But you can still you're used to meeting a lot of people fast and trying to create a working relationship with them. So I found that to be quite useful and not so daunting as I guess some may find it.
And when it came to actually transitioning from being in the army to becoming a financial planner, was that something that you found difficult, or did the army sort of help you out there?
So yeah, I personally found it difficult, predominantly because there's not much within the army which is financial planning in that sense, and I was pretty much an outsider, which we'll come on to, I guess, a bit later on with the group I've launched. But I didn't have any prior experience or anything, and the army, they do resettlement courses which focuses more on general job specific, not general, sorry, interview techniques and tips with CV writing. But it's very much down to yourselves in order to sort of identify the sector you want to work within, do your own networking. So again, it's one of the skills with the army, being able to take self-initiative, because you're in charge of your own career from that point onwards. Up until that point, the army is very much in the sense of they will send you on courses to develop yourself. They will actively try to get you promoted, whereas out here in the civilian world, it's all down to ourselves, whatever we want to make happen in our lives.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Going back to what you just mentioned, yeah, no, that's great. It's really interesting to see how you sort of go together. But I know from my own experience that support from communities like NextGen planners is really helpful in the early stages of your career in financial planning. And you've just launched your financial advisor mentorship group on LinkedIn and WhatsApp. So what was the thinking behind that group?
Yeah, so with that, I found on LinkedIn in particular that a lot of people were asking general questions, either was exam help or kind of that's reaching out for some form of support. And I was finding myself reaching out to individuals first and trying to help and doing phone calls to see how I could help them. And then I decided it would be easier to sort of centralize everyone or invite them to a group, put the information I'd collated and documents I'd written and the resources I'd found into one group. Otherwise, it becomes a bit laborious to sort of do the kind of, I wouldn't say same conversation, but roughly about the same topics over and over again. So created the group, centralized everything, and also as people got involved and more advisors wanted to get involved as well, which was hugely helpful because the group then works, as I know in the title it says financial advice mentorship, so people think it's a very structured approach, but it's more of like an informal mentorship. So in the sense that you have I dare say almost coming to a point where you have a panel of mentors who tends to sort of reach out and help people, and candidates in the group can just sort of ask a question, and whoever's got the time or availability, then they just jump on there, whether it's to do with exam help, job hunting, or just general financial planning questions. We've had one post recently, which was quite a bit fascinating, was how do other advisors deal with, the dress code changes, for instance. So there's not always just like really, really serious topics. Sometimes it's just kind of unifying the advisor world. And this is actually, funny enough, I wasn't aware of NextGen about 2 years ago. So I hope I haven't duplicated the whole thing, but I've noticed I'm helping more at those who wants to transition into that type of work as opposed to already established paraplanners and advisors. So that was the main thinking behind the group, and it's been tremendous. I mean, so far, I think yesterday I had a message from someone who's landed a role. So I think we're up to 4 people now who's managed, through utilizing the resources and the help and the mentors, have actually managed to land themselves a role. So it's just fantastic. I'm really pleased with that.
That is absolutely brilliant. I mean, that is brilliant, and having that group at such an early stage is just so useful. I mean, I'm at the early stages of my career in financial planning, and being with NextGen, for example, has been extremely beneficial for that. And obviously, you've got this group going, and I imagine you might be seeing quite a lot of challenges come up, maybe even some consistencies. Are you noticing sort of patterns in the challenges that people are facing?
Yes, I would say predominantly with those new entrants, it's they're on their sort of study journey alone, because they're not necessarily always a part of an academy, a large network academy. And so there's an awful lot of study support in terms of, I've set up a WhatsApp channel for those who are either with CII, CISI or LIBF. And so there's a study support WhatsApp chat. And throughout the weekends, often it's full of chatter, people, wondering study techniques or whether it's kind of a specific topic they're struggling with. And there again, the mentors are brilliant because they jump in on the chat and then kind of explains things in a bit of different way. And it's just really, really worked well in that sense, because that study support is the main thing. A lot of people ask about study pathways, and I remember when I was new, I didn't realize there were 3 institutes available, with the CI, CISI, and LIBF, because there's a lot of questions in terms of who does employers prefer, what do they involve, how long do they, all of these general questions, which is great to be able to shine a light on, which I never had personally. And also, lastly, one of the main concerns are those who are reaching diploma level. They're struggling with how to get into the market and get a job, because we all know, especially now, that's quite difficult. So all of those, I would say, those 3 things are kind of the main concerns people have, and the trend.
Wow. Yeah, no, those are really useful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now
I think we can both sort of relate to that, can't we, Joe? Both come into it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Especially being in the early stages as well, and when it comes to the educational side of things, it's definitely like a little bit daunting. And having a group like yours there will just make it so much easier to get through.
And also that study cohort, you've got someone to vibe off. It's not always about the studying. It's about, having a bit of a banter on the side as well, having a laugh, which, if you study by yourself, it can be quite boring. So just having someone to just have a coffee chat and just have a laugh, I found that to be hugely helpful when I was in my study journey with my level 4.
Yeah. Okay, so we have got to wrap up the section, but one last question. We've kind of got a roadmap to come out of lockdown now. Is there anything you're looking forward to when the restrictions are lifted?
Well, like everyone else, I can't wait to socialize, go to the gym, go down to the pub during the summer in a beer garden, and just get back to normality. It would be brilliant.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can all link up sometime.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's amazing what you're doing. I think we'd all agree that would have been amazing at the start of our career. I know it definitely would have been for me. So it's really amazing what you're doing. So thank you very much. And please do stick around for our big topic at the end of the show. So next we have Sam Oakes from the Financial Planning Podcast. And Sam is here with some advice on how to secure a job in financial planning without any experience. So Sam, over to you.
Hi guys, thanks very much for having me on the show and putting it all together. I really appreciate it. I think community within any profession is essential for development. So, thanks for having me today. So for those that don't know me, Financial Planner Life podcast. So I talk to people at varying stages in their career about what it's like to work in the profession. But I also run a recruitment agency, have done for 13 years, specializing in financial planning recruitment. So I kind of know a thing or two about how to secure a job, I guess, or hopefully after 13 years. My background before that was working for Aviva as a trainer, so I know a bit about financial services as well. So don't test my knowledge on pensions because I've forgotten a lot about that. So what happens a lot with me is being a recruitment consultant, I often get approached by people that want to become a financial planner, who want to get into the profession. Now, recruitment consultants historically really can only ever make money by placing candidates that have experience, because that's what our clients are asking for. Find me a financial planner with transferable assets. Find me a power planner with 2 years experience, which isn't what somebody getting into the profession really wants to hear. So there are things that you can do to get yourself a job within financial planning, within the profession, without any experience. And today I just want to talk to you a little bit about some of the key things that you can do to ensure that you're giving yourself that extra opportunity and you are taking control, if you like, and putting some action in and not just hoping that someone else will do it for you. So one of the main things, first of all, is ensuring that your LinkedIn profile is up to date. Now, that is vitally important because your LinkedIn profile for this part of the process that I'm going to talk about is going to be your landing page. It's the place you're going to direct people to find out more about you. So that LinkedIn profile essentially is your online CV. It's a gateway, a portal into who you are. So on that LinkedIn profile, you need to ensure that your career history is up to date. And underneath each of your bits of career history, your background, you're putting in all the things that you've done, the skills, the attributes that you have, that most importantly are transferable to the profession of financial planning. So make sure you've got that in there. You've got a section on there around headlines. If you're actively looking for a new job opportunity within financial planning and you're happy to put that on there, put it on there. So if you're studying towards your qualifications, put it on there. Currently studying, RO1 or recently passed RO1, whatever it might well be, make sure your headline indicates that you are keen and interested in the financial planning profession and that you are engaging in study, etc., or learning around the profession as well. And just make sure you've got a nice looking picture on there. Make sure that basically your profile states and shows that you're open to opportunities within financial planning. If you can do that, you might still be employed. You might not want to do that, but that's not a problem. You can still show that you're interested and engaged in the profession. And if you can, put yourself as open to opportunities. I mean, if you put yourself as open as opportunities, employers can find you. So that's one thing you can do as a kind of starting point, really, to ensure that if anyone finds you or lands on your page, and we'll talk about that in a bit, that they know who you are, what the transferable skills are, and all those typical types of things. Now, second to that, this is one of the things, it's a bit of a recruiter tip, really, tricks of the trade, okay? So what you need to do is map your market. And what I mean by that is you need to take Google, open it up, and do a search for all the companies within your geographical location that you would like to work for. Create a spreadsheet and call that a spreadsheet, my future employers, bit of positivity, my future employers. So you're going to map your market essentially. So look at your geographical location, do a type into Google, nice and simple, bring up Google Backs. Most companies worth their salt are going to be on there. Make a list of all those companies down the side of your spreadsheet, company name, put in their contact name, telephone number, email address, outcome, and start to map your market. So build a list, put all those company names in, put it all on your spreadsheet, put all your contacts that you want to get a hold of on there. Put your contact numbers, email addresses, perhaps some unique point about the website or something about the company, put it on there. Once you've built that map, you've only got to do it once, but you've built it. Those are the companies within your geographical location that you're commutable to that you can go and work for. So that is essentially mapping your market, okay? When you're doing that, it may feel like a laborious task, but at the same time, you're learning each step. Every time you're doing that, you're on somebody's website and you're picking up information. You're learning about the profession in a bit more detail. You might see they have a job section. If they've got a job section, take a look at some of their jobs. But don't be put off if a firm doesn't have an advert that says looking for a trainee financial advisor, looking for an administrator, apprenticeship schemes. It doesn't matter. They might well be interested in hiring somebody like you, but just haven't put it on their website. And you don't know whether or not they're thinking about hiring somebody like you. So don't be put off if you don't see a job on there. Don't let that be the deciding factor as to whether or not you reach out to them. So you've built that list up, okay? You've created that list. Now it's about reaching out to them. So what are you going to do? How are you going to reach out? So the key thing you want to do is you want to construct an email. Now that email can't be used the same for every single person that you're sending it to. What you want to do is personalize that email. And there's nothing wrong with creating a snippet of who you are, why you're reaching out, why you want to work in the profession, and what have you done so far to engage with the community or engage with the profession. Perhaps your qualifications, perhaps you've joined the mentor group with Ben Beck. Perhaps you've found a brilliant article that indicates that there is an advisor gap and this is why you want to become a financial planner, because you see an opportunity to become a financial planner and you want to start your career. Whatever it might well be. So create that kind of template, if you like, that can then also be used as a personalized mail. So when you've gone through your list and you've got the different people that you're looking to target, say it could be a director of a company, it could be the talent manager, it could be a senior power planner, it could be an administrator, whoever it is you think is a great in to that company, look that person up on LinkedIn. Is there anything at all about that person? Do a Google search about that person. Can you personalize that email to make it sound like you've just not sent a blanket generic email? Please do not send blanket generic emails to every single person. It's lazy and it's not personalized. A personalized message will always get a higher response rate. So construct that template email for yourself, write it all up, put it in there, perhaps put a hyperlink to an article that you think is interesting and shows your value that you've invested time and energy into finding out about their company. Perhaps there's an article in Money Marketing about them. Do that, okay? So once you've done that, you've built your list, you've written your emails, email. Send out those emails, personalize them. Takes a little bit of time, but job done. You've got it out there. Now, you're going to take that list and you're going to go back to LinkedIn. Now, you're going to look at all those companies that you found, and you're going to follow each and every one of those companies on LinkedIn. You're then going to connect with each and every one of their employees, every single one of them. Now's the time to start building your network within financial planning. Focus on the niche that you want to work in, financial planning. Don't go connecting with all your mates and, all that kind of stuff. Fill your newsfeed up with connections and comments and articles and influencers within the financial planning space, because you want to start engrossing yourself within the community of financial planning. So when you follow all those people that work for that company, perhaps you're then following and connecting with the people that you've sent an email to. Follow up with a message. Hi, how you doing? Love the look of your company. Really would love to connect with you. Is there any chance at any time I can take 15 minutes of your time so you can tell me a little bit about your experience of working in financial planning, because I desperately want to get into the profession. It's definitely the profession I want to do. So follow up with those messages and connect with them. Now, what you also want to do when it comes to LinkedIn is you don't want to be kind of too hyper enthusiastic in the sense of almost stalkerish, okay? Because LinkedIn can be a bit like that. When people keep viewing your profile, it's like, is this person stalking me? Or are they constantly commenting on my links, etc.? You want to kind of like individuals' posts. You want to comment on somebody's posts, but not all the time, which is why you want to grow your network and start adding your comments to other people outside of that geographical location. So start building your network also outside of your location and start with other companies across the UK. Again, different influencers within the financial planning space. Start liking their stuff, start sharing this stuff, start commenting. Be brave and start actually putting out some content yourself. Talk about your experience so far, what you've learned from doing your qualifications. Get in contact with Benjamin Beck, the mentor group. Start joining groups, start joining NextGen, and start sharing the content and engaging with your community. Because guess what? The more you engage with your community, the more you put out, guess what happens? You get stuff back. People see that you're interested. People see that you want to become a financial planner, that you're learning, that you're being successful as well, because perhaps you're passing your qualifications, but you're talking about it, okay? And people see that and go, wow, this person's engaging, and you become on their radar. So when these guys are looking to hire, it's like, oh, that's that person who sent me an email. That's that person who reached out to me. You're going to get people come to you if you put yourself out there. That's pretty much how the world works. That's how my world works anyway. Bit of energy. So also what I would definitely say is as well, you've made that list, you've reached out to those companies, you've sent some emails, okay? You've sent some messages, you've built your LinkedIn connections, you're starting to comment on the community. Then what you need to do is pick the telephone up. If you've not heard back from any of these companies, you've got a list there, okay, that you've built. You need to pick that telephone up. Hi, how you doing? My name's Sam. I'm really interested in your company. I love what you're doing. I read an article about you. The more I read about the advisor gap, the more I want to become a financial planner. Could I take 10 minutes of your time? Who would be the best person to speak to? And just go through your list again and make sure you've got the right contacts. Breadcrumbing, okay? So every couple of months, if you haven't heard something back from the people you're reaching out to, just give them an update on your progress. If you pass another exam, hi, Chris, just to let you know, I know I messaged you 3 months ago or 2 months ago. I've taken my exam and I've passed. Hope everything's well with you guys. Just want to let you know because I'm really keen and interested to hear more about working for your company. So that's my hints and tips really around, securing hopefully an entry-level opportunity, an interview or a conversation. Scrap the idea of an interview. What you're aiming for here is just to engage with them. Okay, can I get 15 minutes of your time for a conversation? Engagement is what is going to get you opportunities. Scrap this idea of the interview process. You've got to get in there and just be engaging with them in the first on the first basis. Don't rely upon recruitment consultants all the time. That's my hints and tips for today. Hopefully that's helped.
Thank you, Sam. That was brilliant. I would have loved some of that advice when I was starting out in the industry. So even though you overran a tiny bit, we don't mind because it was very useful. And I think we would all benefit from it at the beginning of our career. Now it's time for our big breakfast topic. So there is nothing bigger than the environmental crisis. So here to chat to us about what we in financial planning should be doing in order to tackle climate crisis is Clem Chatelin from Paradigm Norton. Hi, Clem.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
It's a bit busy here. Sorry, there's like dogs and people, so
we love it.
We don't mind, yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah, doing very well.
Good. How are you?
Yes, very well, very well. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, look, Clem, I'm aware that you're sort of known in this field for ESG investing, and I understand the sort of passion for this comes from your concern over the climate crisis. What are your biggest concerns right now?
Oh, such a big question. I think a quite large concern is that we've been knowing about climate change for, over 40 years now. And it seems that it's only now that things are actually being physically shifted and done to prevent this. I think the great example of that is David Attenborough dedicated his whole career to raise awareness and make sure things would change, and nothing happened. We just created more emissions, we killed more wildlife, we destroyed more land. So this is quite a big issue. And I think if you talk to different people that deal with climate change, whether it's in finance or science or government policymakers, you'll just see that it's everybody has an issue that they want to resolve pretty quickly. And so I would say for us, our financial planners, is probably all getting up to speed on ESG investing and getting great products that we can actually propose to our clients as a solution, and getting our clients on board.
And
Yeah,
just
no,
for
absolutely.
for those that are watching that don't know, could you just give a brief explanation of what ESG investing is?
Yes, so ESG investing is a way of investing that not only looks at financial metrics of companies, but also takes into account environmental, social, and governance factors into the valuation of a company. So it's more of a risk assessment, view at a company, not just saying, oh, it's profitable, great. It's like, for example, Tesco at the moment is being hit since 2018 with a massive equality pay lawsuit, and that's a social factor that they didn't manage very well, and now it might actually hit the bottom line because it's £4 billion of wages that might be recovered. So for Tesco, that's even though they have a lot of sale, their profit margin is relatively small. So that's one example.
Yeah, thank you, Clem. So I know that you don't eat meat, and there's some evidence that reducing meat consumption can significantly reduce carbon emissions. So can you tell us a bit about the science behind this?
Yeah, so I think the everyday small actions do help to reduce your carbon footprint, but the biggest one is actually to just put your investments into a sustainable fund. That's actually much, much more impactful than the small actions we do every day. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do the small actions every day. Okay, no free pass. But in terms of the science against eating meat, the issue with eating meat the conventional way is that it takes up more land and more resources per gram of protein and calories you can get out, basically, because you have, for example, for cows or chickens, they have to graze, but then they also have to be fed, and sometimes they don't even graze outside. If they are, grass-fed beef, isn't that, humane and everything? Do you know how much land grass-fed beef takes up? And if we all ate grass-fed beef, we wouldn't have a planet to live on. And so it's very it is very energy intensive because you need a lot of land for animals, which means places like the Amazon forest are being chopped down to grow soy. And no, soy is not a vegan problem. Most of the soy that we import in the UK is used to feed animals, not the vegans with the tofu. And the other thing, it can use a lot of water as well. And in the case of cows, they actually produce a lot of methane, which is 4 times more, 4 times as greenhouse gas effecty than CO2. So it has 4 times the impact of CO2 on the planet. So yeah, if you reduce the amount of meat you eat, actually, you can reduce your personal carbon footprint quite significantly. And I don't think it's a huge ask when you have like all these other meat alternatives and everything. I think I can understand how going vegan is difficult, but vegetarian is surely much more easy. And when restaurants open up, usually you have a vegetarian option on the menu.
Yeah, that's true. Gosh, that's really insightful. Thank you, Clem. And I was
definitely
curious, in terms of in terms of ESG investing, excuse me, can you explain how the investment style will actually help with the climate crisis, how it directly impacts it?
Yeah, so people think that usually if you invest sustainably, that means you're going to have to screen out a lot of things. So, oh, I don't want fossil fuels because that's bad for the environment. I don't want animal farming because that's bad for the environment, and so on and so forth. But actually, it shows that for it to be successful, you can't make too many value judgments in terms of what you should screen out, because the more you screen out, the more it's based on your personal values, the more likely your financial performance is actually going to be hit. So the best thing to do, while you can obviously have some exclusions, and you probably should, it's more about making sure that you engage with companies. So whoever the fund management house is, one of the key things you have to look at, next to how they implement ESG in their investment strategies and funds, is what does their engagement look like? Who do they talk to? What's their strategy to talk to companies? What have they achieved? Who do they cooperate with? Do they look at activist shareholder resolutions and so on and so forth? So it's because we can't just change the world by only investing in the good companies. Because then the bad companies are just held by people who might not care. And so we have to hold the whole market, and we have to engage with, the biggest polluters, the biggest offenders. And that's how we're actually going to drive change within capital markets for ESG related issues and climate change.
Wow.
Thank you, Clem. That's such interesting and important information. So I'd like to bring Ben in here. I think he's going to appear on the screen. There we go. Hi, Ben.
Hello again.
So do you find that clients are aware of ESG options when considering their investment portfolios?
I definitely think there's of the last 2 years where I worked at the firm I'm at now, more and more clients, initial clients come in, and they have no opinion, or they have very strong opinions on, not investing in alcohol or tobacco or anything like, those kind of, those type of funds, and increasingly ask more about, the funds are being presented to them, and whether or not do they invest in, anything to bad stuff as such, and increasingly want for the funds to do good in the world. I remember not long ago I had a lady in her mid-20s, and she was very firm on she wanted the money to do good, even though she said, I may not have the most, but at least whatever money I put out there, I want that to have the ability to do some good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Clem, do you think we should be doing more to raise the profile of ESG funds?
Yes, a dog just chipped in. Very agreed. Yeah, I think I think ESG is all over the press. Yeah, ESG is all over the press, and I think it's being it is being promoted a lot. But I think it needs to be more promoted with financial planners, and so that they get excited about it, so they can talk to their clients, and actually we can make a dent, because a lot of money, we look after a lot of money, us together, financial planners. I mean, billions, and this is all stuff that's all money that could be going towards sustainable investments, and we're the gatekeepers. And so if we get excited about it and start getting our clients excited about it, then that would really have a real impact.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Clem, for coming in to talk to us about this important topic, and to Ben and Sam also for being guests on our very first NextGen Planners Big Breakfast.
So that's it for today's show. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week.